welcome to the June 6th, 2024 Highgate Selectboard meeting. First order of business, pledge of allegiance.
When did you go down?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just in comment for me before we start our public comment. Thank everybody for Memorial Day. That was very good parade, very good showing. And today's June 6th, so it's kind of appropriate that we acknowledge that today too. I'd like to open it up to public comment.
Big sales day, $330.
Awesome.
I thought it was very well. What I'm hearing through some of the people through the town, I'm just giving you a comment. They said it was too far spaced, too far. That's what I'm hearing. But otherwise than that, they thought the parade was wonderful. They thought it was really good. And that's about the only thing I heard negative. But they really liked the parade. They liked everything else. A lot of them went over to the Highgate Manor. They were very pleased with the Highgate Manor being opened, and it was really nice. I have one more question that somebody told me to ask the board tonight. Status of the property owned by Mike Jarvis off of Meadow Lane. What's going on with that piece of property? I had a question, I had a call about a week ago, and they know I go to all the select boards, so I'm just bringing it up.
All right. Anybody?
I have no idea.
No idea what's going on.
And I sit at all the DRB meetings, he hasn't been there
Okay,
in a while, but he does have an application in for the July meeting for a 3-lot subdivision. Whoever said person is more than welcome to come in and look at plans.
okay, so he's going for an application? Okay,
He missed the deadline for the June meeting, but he is gonna be on for July.
okay.
His property is on the Route 78 side, and it's also on the Maysfield Lampkin
When's the
side.
meeting for July?
It's the second Thursday of the month, I think it's the 11th.
I won't be
The
here.
4th is on a Thursday, so yeah, it's July 11th.
I won't be here.
It'll get noticed to the public.
Okay, I can let this person know, I won't be here, I've got to have something done. On the road, so. Oh, you can do that. Yeah, okay. As long as I have-
Recording in progress.
That's it, that's all I had. I'm giving you guys a break.
Okay. Appreciate it. Anybody else?
Like both of you said, Memorial Day, I want to thank everybody that was participated and came and watched. Like you said about today, June 6th, 80th anniversary of D-Day. I don't know how many World War II veterans we have left in the town, but all their names are on the monument. And there's 2 KIAs on the monument from World War II. We do have, the group, I think, wants to do, for Memorial Day, group wants to do after the event, wrap-up meeting. Hoping to get that scheduled, maybe even tonight. There's a bunch of us here from it, so. We know there's some things we can make it better. Well, it's still fresh on our mind, we'll probably get something together and for the next select board meeting, have some recommendations coming forward to you guys.
Yeah, good solid debrief never hurts after that like that, yeah.
Oh, it's fresh in your mind.
Yep.
Sunday morning at 10.
What's that? A Sunday seems to work good for
I
everybody.
was joking.
What?
Thanks, Wendy. I was like, oh, let's have it Sunday morning at 10. I'm like, we're the only town I know of that has 3 meetings on Sunday morning.
Everybody shows.
Yeah, but we had it last time in the park, we drank that coffee, well, what do you want?
A day off? I think it's insane, but whatever, do what you do.
How many of you are here right now that are on the,
5 of us.
5 of us.
how long do you expect this meeting to go, Sharon?
An hour probably.
Yeah,
I got a phone, can you stick around till afterwards and knock it out tonight?
What? No,
No.
Too much?
We got other
Not, you
people.
want other people to be able to come.
Oh,
And you come on Sunday.
Yeah, I can
You
do
come on Sunday.
Not this Sunday.
Well, it's next Sunday, 16th.
That's
Yeah.
Father's Day.
Oh, yeah, you wanna come on Father's Day?
it. No.
No,
Okay. Are we pushing this to the 23rd?
Sounds like it.
yeah,
23rd?
yeah.
Barry?
Doesn't right now.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
Okay.
In the park?
If it's
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Or in here, whatever, depends on the weather.
So June 23rd, Sunday,
Yeah.
park,
Then. Okay.
10 o'clock, right?
Yep.
Okay.
awesome.
Alright.
Anybody else for public comment? Moving on, new police contract. We got Sheriff John Grismore here from Frank County Sheriff. He's gonna be taking over on July 1st from St. Albans PD. I think we signed a contract for 3 years.
That's correct.
Yep. Can you tell us a little bit about your policing style, efforts, and maybe focus, what your plan is? How are you gonna keep Highgaters safe?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's nice to be back here. It's been a while since we had an arrangement and an agreement with Highgate, so I know that's all water on the bridge and all that, so we're really looking at kind of, and I'm talking a little bit before we got started here about looking at this as a really kind of a new venture for all of us. So thanks. We're glad to be back. So my philosophy is pretty simple. It's really just focusing on the needs of the community. And when I came in and we started titling, it used to be contracts, or it used to be like proposals and things. I always term those as partnerships. And that's really the core and the essence of what's gonna make both of us successful, both the town of Highgate and our office successful. It needs to be a true partnership. And by that, I mean there needs to be really good, honest, transparent, and frequent communication between the needs of the community and the services that we're providing. I have found in my many years of doing this that feathers get ruffled when there's lack of communication and there's lack of timely communication. So a request that I have to start off with, if I could be so bold, is that when issues come up, and they will, we all know that they will, that we have a very quick conduit to get those into my office. I'll use Fairfax as a perfect example. The town manager and I converse on a regular basis. Today she had a concern, or yesterday she had a concern about particular speeding on one road, and said, hey, I looked at the schedule, I know that there's somebody on, can we focus on this? Absolutely, and we're doing it literally the very next time that we sign on, which was the following day, and that's a very good and very quick and very efficient way of addressing the needs of the community. So I want to make sure that we're soliciting that, so for all the members of the community in whatever manner that you all prescribe as the best way to receive that information, we want that. There really needs to be this community policing effort, and we need to get back to those roots of community policing. We've gotten away from it. We've become, unfortunately, and we can talk all night about the challenges of staffing, but we've become reactionary law enforcement. We haven't been proactive. My hope is that we get back to being proactive. And the proaction comes from intelligence. So the more information that we get from the folks about, certain issues, the better we are at addressing those issues. The ask that I have of all of you is that we don't wait for those issues to come up. I will provide each of you my cell number. That number is available. We have 24-hour dispatch, although we won't be on 24 hours a day. But those complaints, those concerns, those requests can come into my office at any time. I'm always available. One of the nice things about my office, we've kept the bureaucracy limited, so that you don't have to go through 4 different layers of leadership before you talk to the decision-making component of the office. And we kept it that way on purpose. I'll be here anytime that you want me here. Any questions that you have, I'm always available, and that helps me better effectively direct the response that we have. So that's really it, Vern. That's kind of the basics. It's not, deep rooted in sociological experimentation or psychological analysis of crime offenders and things like that. The people are the people. Crime is the crime. We've dealt with this for years and years and years. So it's really just kind of reestablishing that community partnership and that give and take, right? So when there are concerns, again, let's not shelve them, let's not wait. All concerns are important. We want to make sure that we establish a very strong and effective presence here. Consistency is the name of the game. When they see the new cruisers roll into town, I promise you there's going to be a difference. People will take notice of our effectiveness. Additionally, And beyond the contract that we have, it's still very important for us to leverage some of those other resources like governor's highway safety to come in and do some additional supplementary work in terms of like traffic enforcement. So there's monies available, we have resources available, and we want to leverage those as well, so that you're paying for one officer up here, you might have two, you might have three. And that really gives us an effective way of addressing those issues as well. Speeding is a big concern. Four-wheelers side-by-sides on the road, big concerns. They are in every community, right? We deal with this all the time. Drugs are a problem, homelessness is a problem. All of those things exist in every community to one degree or another. You know, I remember what it was like to be back up here. Speeding was an issue, burnouts were an issue, right? The people squealing tires. Traffic safety is a big issue for us. It's a big focus for us. So we want to be able to address that effectively.
Good. I got a few more things, but I'm gonna go down the table.
Yep.
Comments, questions for the sheriff?
Well, one of my concern was the four-wheeler to address that.
That's one.
Well, the big thing is obviously ATVs.
Yep.
We're talking about opening up our roads for illegal, you know, for all the roads. There's some roads open now for VASA, registered VASA, sure. The question I have for you is if you see some hot dogs at the gas station, I know there's no pursuit, I know you can't chase them, but what is your policy? Will you go up and talk to these kids?
Absolutely.
This is a thing to me that you're not gonna intimidate them, because if they get caught doing something wrong, they're not gonna get in trouble anyways, the system's gonna let them go. But my only hope is that you'll be able to have some kind of a truce to try to keep them down.
Yep.
They're gonna be on the roads, we can't, their parents aren't gonna stop them, we sure can't. But that would be my question to you is, are you open to that and your officers and, to working with the ATVs?
Absolutely. We don't want to be adversarial with anybody. That's not effective.
No, it's,
So, but you're absolutely right. The big thing for us is education and safety when it comes to ATVs.
right,
You know, like and we dealt with this in Richford a lot, right? They open up the roads and ATVs, and of course you have a few bad apples. But by and large, a lot of folks are respectful. They drive appropriately up there. They're wearing helmets, things like that, and that comes through education. So that's a big thing for us. But yeah, establishing rapport with all the folks, right? That we're not out there to write everybody tickets. You know, times are tough. Issuing tickets doesn't always curb behavior.
yeah,
So we absolutely would want to seek to establish a good rapport with the folks. We'll know who they are pretty quick, right?
Oh, yes.
They're
Oh, yeah.
Small town, a beautiful
You'll-
small town,
you'll know.
right? We don't.
You probably already do
I'm
know.
not opposed to going to their houses either, right? So if we get complaints about such and such an ATV, it becomes a little bit challenging for us if we can't put somebody behind the wheel. Helmets and stuff, we see this with motorcycles as well. But y'all know who they are. Let us know, we'll do some talk and talks. You know, we'll go and interact with those folks. We'll try to curb behavior through prevention. If we have to be punitive, we will be punitive. And we've worked with the state's attorney's office before, up to and including towing vehicles, seizing ATVs, things like that. We don't want to really get down that road. We can go down that road, but we're hoping that, you know, once we establish a presence here, folks will know that we're going to be a little bit lenient, but we're not going to be tolerant of recklessness. We're not going to be tolerant of quality of life issues, loud mufflers, reckless driving, things like that.
consistent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I think one of our problems with ATVs, and it bothers me, and is the rail trail. If somebody's gonna get hurt on that rail trail, and I hope it never happens, but I see them on there, they were on there last weekend, coming up through, you know, and there's bikers, and there's walkers, and little kids. We gotta find a way to keep them off that rail trail.
Well, we actually have a very nice side-by-side, and I'm not opposed at all to bringing it up there and doing some patrol. So if that's something that you would all like to see, we absolutely would love to do that. That's a fun detail for us. But we can come up and do that for sure, and we can control that. So if there's times of day that you all think that that's gonna be, you know, a best bang for the buck for us, we're more than happy to do that. We also partner with VASA to provide some enforcement as well. So there's monies that are available as well to come up and do those same kind of things, you know, making sure registrations are valid, making sure folks are being safe, helmets are being worn, people are being, you know, tolerant and respectful to other people around, yep. But the rail trails are a problem everywhere too, yep.
Sheriff, when I was town constable here, I provided the office with a book of the ordinances. You still have that?
That's one of my asks. I need to get the latest, greatest ordinances.
I was just saying, if you could return that to us, we can get it updated for you and get that back to
On
you.
our website.
Okay, perfect.
But they do need, an official copy for when they go
We
to
do.
prosecute.
Yeah.
They bring that with them, they present it in court. I do wanna say, in my experience of doing ride-alongs when I was constable, the Franklin County Sheriff's Department is top-notch in my opinion. They have
Thank
a
you.
lot of good officers and very open to whatever we need them to do.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I just, while you were talking, Sheriff, I was doing a list. Ordinances were one I saw Sharon right now, we usually those two. Your hours, I think we're contracted for 40 hours a week.
Right.
Is that correct? Okay. And is there gonna be a handover between St. Albans PD and you guys, like
Absolutely.
for events, that kind of thing?
Yeah, we're gonna start having conversations about the transition from St. Albans Town.
Yep.
So a lot of it is taking time to do it. Yeah, we have a very good feed. When we get into the next couple of weeks, we'll start doing a data poll for all the calls that come out of Highgate. So we kind of know what we're, in for as well. So we know what the target areas are, the concerns, things that whether it's St. Albans PD or VSP have been called to in the past, a year, 18 months. And then we'll start to kind of shape some of that as well, find out those target areas, see what calls that are atypical calls, not the normal that we see, maybe a erratic driver or drunk or whatever, but just to try to get a good feel for those kind of cases as well, yeah.
So are you gonna mix the 40 hours up,
Absolutely.
because I know like in the winter months, we have hockey over here, and it gets pretty, there's people walking and, there's a lot of speeding, if like mostly it's on Wednesday and Saturday nights, if you could be able to cover that.
And that's the beauty of our partnership, and the great thing about the sheriff's office is that you now have some control about how those resources are applied. So you let us know. Hey, we're seeing some issues in the afternoons, we're seeing some issues at night, we're seeing some issues at 4 o'clock in the morning when nobody else is on. We'll come out at 4 o'clock in the morning. Right, so we'll address those issues that we need to address. It becomes a scheduling challenge as well, but, like the hockey issue with the arena, absolutely. Say, hey, John, traffic is really a challenge at, between 8 and 11 o'clock on a Sunday. We can be here between 8 and 11 o'clock on a Sunday. We'll do a day shift that day, we'll do some things like that. Yep. And we want to keep folks guessing too, right? I mean, we saw this in Richford that, I remember back in the days when Facebook first came out, there was a Facebook group that was like, the sheriffs are gone. And all hell broke loose, right? So we want to make sure that we keep things, keep folks guessing, want to make sure that we're here on a consistent basis and an infrequent basis so that it doesn't become routine for folks. But certainly the capabilities to address those issues as they come up and things that you all are aware of, you let us know, we tailor that to your needs.
Good. St. Albans PD's been good for us. It really helped us when they came on with the ATV issue as a hot matter. We're very much hoping you guys can continue in that tradition of St. Albans PD, the same amount of enforcement, quality of enforcement. One thing about was a phone number, just for the camera, the people to watch. What number, if not your personal cell, if somebody needs Franklin County Sheriff specifically, can they call?
Yep, so the office main number is 802-524-2121.
If
So
not,
that number goes right to dispatch.
okay.
And then they can get anybody that's on. Yep.
Is that a 24/7 dispatch?
It's a 24/7.
It is, okay.
Yep, so we still use St. Albans PD
Right.
as our central dispatch. So they'll continue to provide that service as well, so they're available. Yeah.
For emergencies, so call 911.
Correct, 911 for emergencies, correct.
Other than that, I got nothing else. Look forward to working with both time.
Oh, I wasn't trying to cut you off.
Oh, okay, no, go ahead. I'm gonna wrap up, go ahead.
John, one of the things I've heard from people is they were worried in the past when the sheriff's department was our contract. There's a little bit of iron fist ruling tonight that makes me feel a lot better that, because St. Albans PD did a lot of work with, becoming a member of the community too, and it sounds, I can go back and tell people,
Sounds pretty similar.
it's,
Community-based policing.
community-based policing,
Nobody benefits from it, like I
Right.
said, an iron fist, rule of law, right? There needs to be give and take, we want to work with the community members as well. We want to curb those behaviors, so coming in here and just writing a million tickets, making a million arrests only aggravates the population there. Yep, that's a good point, thank you for that.
sounds good.
I just have one quick question too. Right now, we schedule as with St. Albans, and they've had a hard time meeting their hours that we contract. How is your staff? Are you fully staffed? Do you feel that you will have any issues meeting the 40-hour agreement per week?
I don't, staffing is very good.
Okay.
Yep, we're looking very, very good. So, yeah, so we have enough to handle all the towns that we've got proposals out for right now, and then some. We'll have a little bit of extra as well, yep. So we're looking very, very good. I knock on wood, I don't wanna jinx myself, but, you know, things in our office are looking great for staffing.
Good.
Yeah, I don't see any issues with,
Good.
whether it's Highgate, Sheldon, or Amesburg, or Richford, I don't see any issue with the staffing those at all.
So my concern is drugs.
Is what?
Drugs.
Yep.
The drug population is increasing twofold, maybe threefold. There was a time when Chief Taylor was on, they were pushing them out of St. Albans. That's not happening anymore with the new leadership. But still, that population went to Swanton. Swanton's population started coming here more and more. That causes not only an enforcement issue, but it also causes a community issue. Because you're providing 3 meals a day at the school. You have children who have learning disabilities because they're not getting proper parenting, and it's a snowball effect. Somehow we need to have a better plan than what we have going on now. Whether that's a carrot and a stick or whatever it needs to be, but it needs to be closely monitored, and I think for all of us, it makes a huge difference in our community services.
You're absolutely right, and it's a bigger issue than just for Highgate.
Oh, yes,
So-
yeah.
And I would certainly encourage everybody, and I've done this in other towns too, is that let's not forget we have representative senators that can advocate for us and, you know, in Montpelier. We need to get really good about pushing them for these changes. These aren't something that Highgate can either afford or has the scope to change by themselves. And this is true of all communities. And you're talking about a monumental shift in culture that needs to happen, much like we're wanting to see in law enforcement attractiveness, right? That there's a culture shift that needs to happen. What we can do here is what we've done in other communities as well. And again, we're talking about really establishing good rapport with folks. It's very important for us to do follow-ups, as an example. So back in the day, and as an example, we would respond to domestic violence. And let's just, for the sake of the conversation here, say it was a female victim. Well, anybody that's been victimized, male or female or whatever, is victimized, in the situation, they're not ready to receive services. It's very difficult for them to find services, or even acknowledge it. They're still in shock, they might have just been assaulted. The emotional involvement of being in a domestic situation is incredibly challenging for them. So what we've done is we've started to come up with some more consistent follow-ups that might be 2 or 3 or 4 days. And we're just this side of coming up with a formalized policy in the office to mandate certain follow-ups for certain things, and like a domestic violence thing. So we do partner with Voices of Violence, and have lots of conversations with them. We deal with all of the folks with restorative justice and those different programs to make sure that there's just continuity and follow through. We don't want to be we don't want ours to just be a segment. We want to have visibility, and that's a great thing about law enforcement is we tend to have visibility over the entire issue, and we want to make sure that we do have that visibility. If we can bring those resources in. Back to your concern about drugs, that's the same thing. We work very closely with the folks that are involved with that rehabilitative service in Franklin County. So how do we partner with them more effectively to make sure that we're getting services to folks? I have never, and I've been to 100 overdoses, I've been to thousands and thousands of drug cases where folks have been using and stuff. I've never interacted with anybody that's happy with what their life is. That feels good that they're a user. So how do we really institute better programs? And this is a bigger question for the state of Vermont, right? Bigger question for the nation is how do we institute programs that really do look at rehabilitative services so that we stop this continual revolving door? We're providing free Narcan for folks. I don't really think that that's the best solution because it enables use. Well, we can do that, but we can't. You can get me off on a tangent, but we can't do insulin, we can't do epinephrine, but we can do Narcan. But you know what I mean? That's a Band-Aid that's not preventative, right? So we really need to look at this as a holistic problem. Everybody's got a piece. Law enforcement does. You know, how do we get services? How do we recognize folks that are in need of those services? How do we provide them with information that maybe they don't need to, you know, they don't need to go through this cycle of drug abuse? How do we work with state's attorneys to make sure that we're finding reasonable and logical partnership solutions for folks that we arrest? Everybody's aware of the revolving door, right? I mean, we see that every day in the news, that somebody gets arrested for something and they're back on the street the next day. I witnessed it myself. We arrested a gentleman out of Richford that had enough fentanyl on him to kill 12,000 people. Got released that day. You know, and I'm not trying to pick on the courts, I'm not trying to pick on the entire judicial system, but it really is a challenge, you know? So we as a society really need to take this responsibly and how do we do that? So for us, the great thing again is that we have visibility into that. We're the ones that go with rescue maybe or with fire department folks to these calls. We get to get the names, we get to see what's going on with them, and then how do we follow up with, and there's tremendous programs. Melinda White runs a fantastic program in Salem City that really addresses some of these challenges with getting folks off the addiction cycle. So again, getting them in the system, just like we would bring somebody to the state's attorney's office for prosecution, how do we bring them and get their names involved and folks that they can do some outreach and start to challenge this. But it's a socioeconomic challenge for everybody, but I know I'm rambling, but that's kind of the thing. It really is a big issue, Sharon. It's something that all of us need to look at. We all need to levy and push our representatives and our senators to really provide some funding, to provide some more effective programs that we can stop at some point in time this revolving door of drug abuse and addiction in our community.
Well, I'm glad to see you're very passionate about it. I think that's extremely important, especially in this day and age when people ignore things they don't want to deal with. And the community outreach, hopefully some of that will be with our children, so that children who are the most vulnerable of us get to see that there are other options besides following in the path of drug addiction.
Absolutely.
But I have to say that, yes, when I've spoken of the Franklin County Sheriff's Department, we look at this as an opportunity for both sides to have an excellent partnership.
Absolutely, yeah, and there needs to be give and take, like I said before. So I trust that there'll be good communication coming in, and you can't ever over communicate, especially in the early stages. We're getting familiar with each other and kind of what that's going to look like. So
2 a.m., 3 a.m. phone calls, good to go.
I can't guarantee you I'll answer them, but there's probably 9 out of 10 that I'll get it, and I'll answer it. Yep.
All right.
Awesome. If you're willing to take my phone calls, then you can.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough. Anybody else for Sheriff Cruiser?
Sheriff, are you still open for ride-alongs?
Absolutely.
Okay,
That's a
so
great point. Anybody that wants to participate in our ride-along program is more than welcome.
I think it'd be beneficial, for example, if Mary knows a certain area that, we need to have more eyes on, she could ride along with the deputy and actually go out and say, this is a spot.
That's a fantastic point. I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah, that's welcome to everybody. Everybody in the community can do a ride-along. If you want to see what it's really like, I would strongly encourage you to spend some time with us.
And you really get to know the officers and, and it's a
And
good
those
way.
challenges, right? And those challenges. And yeah, that awareness, that education is incredibly powerful. That's a great point.
Anybody else? All right.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming in. Thank
Look
you.
forward to talking to you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Look forward to working with you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Alrighty. School district revote information is up next. We have a gentleman in the back room. You bet. Come on.
Yeah, so I just figured I'd mainly come if the select board had any questions about the.
Just say your name for the camera.
Oh. I'm Rennick Darnell Martin, Vice Chair of the FESC School Board, and one of the representatives from Highgate. So, just came back to talk a little bit. Our last budget did not pass. We have another vote coming up to the 18th of June. It'll be our third vote. So, kind of want to give back. We've had members from the board towns that they represent, just kind of speak to it, answer questions. So mainly, if there's any questions or information I can provide, it's helpful. Be happy to do it. So.
I think I saw the sheet via email, what you guys,
There's some over there.
rebudgeted for the year? Okay.
Yeah.
Could you just tell everybody what was adjusted from the last budget, please?
Yeah, so we had about 800,000, a little over 800,000 of reductions overall. One of the things, unfortunately, that really impacts Highgate is we were not able to do the roof in Highgate. So the Highgate Elementary, the roof is it's been in need of dire repair and replacing. We keep patching the holes, we keep fixing it, but we needed a roof on that school. Unfortunately, because the budget didn't pass, we couldn't fulfill the contract. So that was going to have to get kicked down the road. That was one thing, but also what we did is we tried to listen to a lot of what the community members were saying. Was they just didn't want cuts from capital projects. They wanted to see cuts from other areas. So we reduced money from the district office, came out of there. We had, go back over. We were able to cut a administrative position from MVU. We had a vacancy that was not filled that we were able to cut from the budget. And we had some clerical position that we were able to take from the principal's office and just some other small reductions. So overall, we were able to reduce it by an additional $800,000.
Looks like 835,000.
Okay.
Where can folks get more information about this?
So we have an informational meeting. Our budget informational meeting is going to be Monday at 6 o'clock at MVU. So that's where we're going to go a little bit more into depth and go line by line by what amount came out of each section. We can answer questions. As opposed to doing it the night before the vote, we're actually doing it a week ahead of time. So that way, individuals can take the information and if that changes the decision or something like that, they can provide it. We've tried pretty hard to get the information out there, respond to questions. So yeah, this is a chance if there's any questions for myself.
If somebody comes to one of your meetings and has an idea about where a cut might be able to be made, is there any more wiggle room left?
So, no, because we have to vote on the budget, right? And then once we propose that, we can't change it. The reality though, and this is I guess where a bit of my confusion is that we start working on the budget in October. So at this point, we're like closer to working on our next year's budget than we are when we started. So if there's, line items, like specific line items, if Ty said, hey, why is this $20,000 here as opposed to there? Let us know. Like we'll get in and literally in about 4 or 5 months, we'll start planning. I think going forward, this district and the 3 towns are going to have to probably have some serious conversations because the way the state funds education is really working against us right? It's the conversation that you hear from most people is, I don't want my taxes to increase. And what is the one thing that a citizen right now gets to vote on? School budget. They don't get to vote on gas prices. They don't get to vote on the property CLA going up. They don't get to vote on groceries, right? They get to vote on school budget. The school budget accounts, the local school budget accounts for a very small portion of your tax increase. And in fact, in our case, in our district, our budget will decrease the taxes slightly. Now they're going to increase overall because we don't control that portion, right? It's all pulled from around the state, the way the legislator has it that education is funding around the state. The reality is that districts down in Chittenden County that have $90 and $100 million budgets passed, we pay for that. But no matter how many times we vote down our budget, we don't change that. And so it's like trying to explain it because I know there's a sentiment out there that I don't want my taxes to go up and I want the system to change, but it's the wrong message. Like, we're hurting the wrong people at this point, and I fundamentally believe that, right? Like, I think, you know, we need our legislators to try to come together and figure some of these things out. I know they're trying, I've spoken to a number of them, but it's an entire system change. But currently, this is a system that we have. And so, we can keep doing this, and Highgate, and Swanton, and Franklin will continue to suffer. But it won't change the system the way it is now. So I think that's the point that I'm trying to, like, I try to get across. I read a lot of stuff, I talk to a lot of community members, that, you know, we have contracts that we can't renew, we have projects that we can't fix, can't do, and that's just gonna keep happening because we have to eventually pass a budget. So,
I got a question for you.
yeah, please.
Is the roof project, the roof, and then there's window, when I was on the school board, we voted on a bond just before we merged. And that bond passed, and the school roof was part of that bond. Why is this yes, yes, yeah. And when I was on it, and windows and stuff, a lot of that hasn't been done, and now you're cutting the roof project. It should have been taken care of with the bond.
I mean, I would agree. I've only been on the board for, this is my third year.
Yeah, and, you know, no, I'm just asking question, what happened, you know?
And that's when I can get the answer for you, absolutely. I don't know.
Yeah,
It was, all I know is that the roof had to be done, and that's what was proposed to us.
Yeah.
So if it was bonded before or for the merger, but that merger was in 2020. So
yeah,
I'm not sure what happened, when it merged.
because the bond vote passed just before we merged.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be taken care of at that time, so I don't know, I haven't been involved in it since then.
Question, I can try to find that one out.
Yeah,
Was it a certain amount, Richard? Not that I'm trying to be on one side or the other, but
Yeah.
inflation kind of happened after COVID. Did they run out of money?
I don't
And
know.
doing all the other stuff?
I don't know, Shelley, that's why I'm just asking,
Yeah,
you know,
it's a good question.
It was $2.9 million,
Million, yeah.
and they took the full bond because they're showing that in their paperwork that they produced, I mean.
Parking lot and conditioned air projects, not before the windows and doors.
the roof.
How
That's
come we
where
didn't
the
ask
money
this
went.
question last time when the business manager was here?
I weren't here.
And I didn't know about it, I don't know anything about that. That's a good question. Renee, so what are the consequences if this doesn't pass this time? Does this go to another revote?
So one of the things that, there's a bit of a misconception, some people think that if we don't have a budget by like July 1st, then we go back to operating on 87% of last year's budget. We are allowed to borrow off of 87% of last year's budget, but that's until we get a passed budget.
So we're gonna keep going on this
We're
until it
gonna
passes?
keep going. So, like I talked to Don Collins, who's been doing this, a couple of years. And, he's like, I remember we had to do this, 9, 10 times, right? And it costs us money. It costs money to produce ballots.
Costs money every time you have to vote, it costs quite a bit of money.
Yep.
Lots of postage.
Lots of, and so, we're paying for it. We're just gonna keep paying for it until eventually we have it. And the other consequences, right, we have, a lot of contracts we can't renew. We have, the next time, there's a strong possibility that we have to start to really dig into programming, right? And then that's where these 2 rounds, we've been trying to do everything possible to avoid impacting students and student programming, right? Whether it's, capital, whether it's the district office or things like that. But the next round, we're talking maybe after school transportation, we're talking maybe, some program, we're talking contracts that we can't renew, maybe we're actually talking about, salary positions and teacher positions and it's, people are like, oh, are you trying to scare us? And we're like, no, we're not actually trying to scare you. But if we don't have a budget, we're gonna lose things. there's an angst, right? Employees, we have 500 employees, custodians, teachers, administrative personnel, like coaches, and there's an angst when we are one of maybe less than 10% of the schools that don't have a budget in July. Because most of the other ones have passed it. So I can foresee it being very difficult, right? We have to wait potentially 30 days. If the bar article doesn't pass, we have to wait at least 30 days. And now, people may just start to elect to go other places. And while a big portion of our budget does go toward overall staffing and teachers, they can also be like, hey, if I'm not feeling good. Teacher negotiations are good. Are this upcoming year. So how comfortable are they going to feel being like, we're having this much trouble passing a budget at this point in time? So I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know. I know that the board would go back and we would try to be as responsible and do the work to make sure that we're doing it right. We're trying not to affect programs, but it's just out there. It could happen. So that's one of the risks. And then the borrowing article is a good one. This is a good example. We have to borrow the money. The funding comes and it ends in June or July. That's when our funding ends. And then we have to borrow the money, which gets appropriated by taxes, and it comes to us normally in September, October. So we have to borrow money to keep operating costs going. We have to do it. It's the law. This article keeps failing.
By one last time.
By one. But that still means
It failed by
that-
one vote.
The borrowing article, yes.
And the problem is that actually causes real issues because the borrowing article failed. One, instead of being able to go out for a revote in 10 days, be like, okay, we'll make this cut, we'll go back out. We have to wait 30 days. And then on top of that, let's say we pass a budget, but the borrowing article fails. We can't borrow money to operate the schools. So now we're in like a really weird situation. And they don't have any control over that system of, we get appropriated the money, like this is what your budget will be. You'll get the funds released like in the fall, so you're borrowing the funds you already have approved until they actually flow to you, right? So we're trying to explain that, people are like, no, we don't want you to borrow money on top of the budget, it's not on top of the budget, like we have to do it. And I'm in the military, right? Same way, right? Like you get money allocated to you, and a lot of times what you have allocated versus what it actually drops to you, the timing's different. So you just borrow against what you're eventually going to get. So it's not a separate thing, they're connected. So that's one that, keeps failing, and I think the sentiment is just, I don't want my taxes. So, and one of the things is I understand that there's a lot of, what's the right word? Individuals, people who don't necessarily have kids and live here, or maybe they're retired and all that, and I completely understand, right? Why would I support them? And the only argument I would say is, it's a whole community thing, right? Like, we want people to come to Highgate, to come to Swanton, to come to Franklin. There's a lot of people who are employed by it. And all the residents that live here, those who do have kids, are the people that are working in our businesses and who are using, drop their kids off at school or let them take the bus to go to school so they can go and work in our community or work somewhere else and bring the money back in. So if you own a local business or you work somewhere and you want people to come and spend money, they have to be able to know their kids are okay. So it's all connected. And if, I don't want to pay my taxes, I'll just say that right now. I don't. We pay too much. Absolutely. And if we were contributing to that, how would we get it? So, I'm hoping this time maybe it's a bit different, but I would kind of urge everyone to talk about it. There's certain spaces right now, unfortunately, especially online, where there's a lot of information that's incorrect. I read something in one of the groups and somebody said, why'd you do a $1 million principal's office renovation? That never happened.
One thing I'm hearing on the road, and I'm on the road block, and they know I'm on the road block. And what I've been hearing from residents in Highgate is is one thing that really concerns a lot of people when they see a bus that goes on the frontage road, and even my road. You've got 2 kids on the bus, and it's a full big bus. That's a concern to me. Another concern I have, and I've been hearing from a lot of different people, is it's the activity bus after school. A lot of times the bus is empty. And I'm hearing it from a lot of people, They said, we don't want the education to be cut, but it's gotta be looked at.
Well, I'll say 2 things to that. Those are 2
Okay.
sides.
I mean, I'm just hearing this from different people.
So,
And I'm concerned with my road because I have a bus that comes down, 2 kids on it.
well, it could just be what route they're on.
End of the route.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Again, here, like, I mean,
Eventually it's gotta be up there.
But I've seen it one night down there at 5:30 at night. 5:30 at night, and it's like, you know, I'm a taxpayer in Highgate. I don't want my taxes to go up. I'm for education, but I just think it really needs to be looked at.
yeah, and that's the kind of like specific issue and feedback
Right.
that I would love to hear at a board meeting during the year, so that we can talk about it, find out what
I
it
can
is.
bring it up on Monday, because that's one of my, it's not just my concern, but it's a lot of other people's concern, and they see it empty bus a lot.
Yeah, and, well, I got 2 things to that. One, at some point the bus has to be empty.
Right, I understand.
So,
I understand that, yes.
the other thing
I
though
do understand that.
is, and I didn't mean that like funny, but at some point we.
No.
We have to, so if it's the end of the route,
It's absolutely true.
right?
I'm on the road and I see a lot of it on the road. I'm all over, and I see it a lot. And they know I'm on the road, and I see a lot.
Well,
And it's not at the end of the route either.
so then, if that's the case, that to me is a perfect kind of thing to
Exactly,
bring to our board meeting
exactly.
and let us find out the answer, because we will.
At the end of the road, I understand that, but I see it in other places.
And these are perfect examples of, I would take that very seriously from somebody from the community, and I would go back and we would talk about, is this a common thing? What's the reason for it? Is there a good explanation or there not? What concerns me about our budget though, is everybody can have one thing they don't like. Or one particular issue that is a problem. Like you said, like, I don't like seeing an empty bus and we're paying for that. And if that's a common thing and if we're transporting 2 kids on an empty bus, that to me is something worth looking into. But is that enough to justify not passing a budget? And that's the thing, it's like, you know, I have 3 kids in my team. I've had some incidents that I didn't agree with. Is that enough not to support the budget? And I would implore anyone who has like an issue like that to come to a meeting and let us address it. That's literally our job.
I will address it on Monday, that's not a problem.
I just wish that, you know, maybe we could separate one singular issue you have. I'm not saying you, but anybody.
No, but I'm hearing it from townspeople, and it's
Yeah.
just not Highgate, it's Swan, because like I said, I'm all over, and I know a lot of people.
And you know, there's another side to that because, you know, we do have the ability to, transportation, we don't have to offer.
I understand that.
However, if we cut transportation, what is the impact that has to all?
And I understand that too, I understand that.
So I would want to find a solution, and that's something I'll make a mental note of.
I mean, I'm willing to make, you know, and I'm hearing it, just not myself, I'm hearing it from a lot of other people, they said, well, because I'm in Highgate Springs and I hear it, here's the bus, it's going by, no kids are on it, and it's just certain parts of Highgate Springs, and people tells me about it.
Well, it's, I will say about that, because where I live in Highgate, my kids are.
You live not far from her.
Yeah, so my kids are the first to be picked up.
Where does he live, I don't know where he lives.
I
In
live,
the development right by you.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, I
so,
didn't know that.
so the bus will pass empty, they'll pick up, and then they'll start their route. and then-
Jennifer Circle.
Yeah, and then at the
I
end,
didn't realize that.
yeah, and at the end of the day,
Sorry.
no, but at the end of the day,
You used to be my neighbor.
yeah, they're the last to be dropped off. So that also part of the route, but it doesn't matter to me because it's a valid concern.
Right.
I just would sort of say to everyone, I'm sure everyone in here can say, one or two things they don't like, or one particular experience is not good about it. It's tough, like public education is hard, right? It's a difficult thing. That said, overall, I think what the schools are trying to do is good. And at this point, I would hope that outweighs the negative of budgets failing at this point for this reason. So that's it.
And it's a real possibility that athletics go on hold.
Well, because what are the things that we're not, I mean, again, contracts we can't renew.
Because the coaches got letters
Yeah.
saying we can't renew your contract because we don't have a budget, we don't have a budget.
Yeah, so.
That's terrible.
Which
That
keeps
is
kids out of trouble
I agree.
and on
That's terrible.
strikes.
Yeah, and that's.
That helps keep the
Like
kids off
a
the
lot of kids
street.
only go to school so they can play
Out
sports.
of the
Yeah.
And they have to have good grades in order to be on the team.
It's a snowball.
Yes,
You know
Todd,
what?
that's the policy.
Yeah, I was only followed some of the times.
Yeah, this is-
I had a question. I feel like in the past, the school board has always been really good about listening to concerns. And I don't think some of the staff and administration has been the greatest about it. Have you noticed a difference in your thought process now that the budget is, we're voting on it a third time, saying, hey, you know what, people are unhappy. Maybe we need to listen to what their thoughts are.
Yes. Yeah, and I will.
Because I know there's people that are saying, you know what, I wanna vote no just because they wanna do it their way all the time and never listen to anybody.
Yeah, so here's what I would say to that. So I've only been on the board for, this is my third year, right? But this is my second year as vice chair. So after 1 year, I was a community, like, I'll just say, I was a community member that was like, I don't like some things. But instead of, just planning, I'm like, I'm gonna do something about it, I'm gonna run for a position, and I'm gonna try to actually understand. So one, my opinion before I started was, I don't like this and that from the outside. And that was very easy, because I could just pick the things I didn't like, and be like, they're just doing this way. After doing it now, and seeing how complex it is, because it is kind of complicated, right? Like you're educating what, 2,000 some students, or 2,000 some students across 3 different towns. You're employing 500 people. It runs in a way like a business, right? You got to feed them quota, pay taxes, health insurance. Like it runs very much like that. You have a way to report it whenever you're dealing with like funding from the state. It's very tricky how to use it. But I always felt as a board member it was important that I'm representing what I hear from people in the community, because like that's what I'm there for. So I think this board has really started to do a good job of being heard. So when we say, hey, this is an issue, or we'd like this to be changed, we are getting it now, right? Like admin doesn't work for us, it works for, no, they work for us, right? And so any issue or concern or the sentiment of like the community, like we hear it, right? That's why certain cuts came from certain places for this round, because the community said, hey, I don't want it just from one thing. So no, I think there are real changes being made. And we take it seriously throughout the year. We can't fix everything. I think some things are just, we have challenges in the system. Sort of tied to the law enforcement thing. We have students, high school students who are homeless, who have nowhere to go, who have no lodging. The amount of kids who don't have parents, right? Who are relying on TV. So it's a tough thing to balance. But no, to respond, I think there's been a much better relationship between the board and responding. And if there's things that make sense and we can push forward, ask for, like, they are responsive to that. So, and that's a first-hand account. So, I think we have a good team, as good as we can have. Because the one thing I'd like to consider, and this is just, I would just put this out there, there are very few staff members, teachers, admin, central office, custodians who could not make a higher salary somewhere else. So a lot of people who stay and work here are staying because they want to work here. And that's something important to keep in mind, which is why we try as hard as we can to retain the people that we have.
So besides the meeting, is this, I'm looking at the top, is this a mailer that's going out?
Yeah, it's good and out, everyone.
Did it go out?
Yes.
I just got mine yesterday, so
Okay,
you
I
might
got
not
it,
have
so,
it
okay,
yet.
okay, that's good.
It's hard to always know what to put on those mailers, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's an informational meeting,
Okay.
on Monday. We get a little bit more in depth. I would encourage people to come or watch online.
I heard the governor had vetoed the yield bill at his meeting today.
Yes, it's great.
Well, like you said, I do believe the problem is in Montpelier, not at our local school districts.
It was,
So maybe that's a step in the right direction, but
I'm not familiar with the yield bill.
well, that's where it kind of mashes up all of the
Oh, and then they distribute it
money
all.
and distribute,
Yeah.
and that is what is going to cause the 14% to 20% increase of the
Property.
Yeah.
property tax bill.
yeah, so, I mean, the hard part of that is, again, 90% of all the budgets at this point are passed.
Mhm.
So, us,
A few holdouts.
well, if this budget doesn't pass and we just slash it by 10 million, it's not gonna do anything down there.
No.
We could strip our schools to the bare bones, but it's not gonna change your property tax based on what happens down in Montpelier. Like, that's just, it's not when you have a school that has $10 million budget somewhere else. So that's difficult for us. The yield bill not passing is also difficult because it continues uncertainty. And, I support a lot of what Scott's doing, but that uncertainty is leading to a lot of community members just being like, well, they can't figure it out, I'm not voting for it. So it just makes it hard locally. Because we use that yield, the yield bill to try to calculate what the estimated tax rate is that we contribute to. And right now, one of the things you can look at is the part that we contributed to is actually going down. It's been going down the last few years, and I think we were at the last one, we had the informational, I think we were down to like $1.24 or $1.20 or something like that. So it's less than previous years. So it's, how do you explain to people like that we're like toeing the line and we're actually helping your taxes be slightly less on a local level. But what happens in Montpelier,
Right.
it's hard, yeah, there's days I wish I was in Montpelier. I'm like, oh.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're our representative.
Yeah.
Because I think you do care, and I think you are trying to make it better. And as the general public, we can't ask for more than that.
Appreciate it.
We may have differences along the line, we all do, but I think we all want what's best for our children, and to educate them is for the greater good, for all of our good.
I appreciate it. I think the one thing I would say to the select board is, there's a good possibility with the way things are going with housing around the state, that, Franklin, Highgate, Swanton are becoming busier, and it's attractive to come here and get maybe a bit more value for what you're buying. But the school pays a big part of it. And so I think if we can keep good, solid schools that people, want their kids to go to, that benefits us all, right? Likewise, if we can't maintain that, then we're dealing with other issues, right? Like the law enforcement issues, like all that stuff. Like there's an impact, and then if you own a local business or you're contracting in the area, I think it's all connected. I think that's the point. So, anyway, that's what I have to say. Hopefully it passes. I would ask everyone to just understand, again, if there's a particular issue you have with how things are being run through the school, I'm available all year. Like, let me know, find me on the website. I will bring it to the table, and if I feel it makes sense, I will push it over. Ivan doesn't always like me, I'll put it like that. Okay. So, but yeah, that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, you too.
And good luck.
Yeah. I was just reading an article about the veto today, and it says in here that Slate Valley Union is preparing for the 5th vote.
Yeah, it's, you know the irony right now is it's all the lower spending districts that are left. And the sad part is that the intent when they started out this year, like Act 127 and that, was to try to give incentive for the lower spending districts to have a cushion to be able to catch up to the higher spending districts. And that has all been negated. And now here we are, where smaller districts can't pass their budget, are cutting from their budget, and the higher ones already have it settled, and the taxes you can't affect that. So that's where we are. So it's a bigger fight.
That's unfortunate.
CVU passed their budget second vote, $101.8 million.
Wow.
Fairfax passed the other day, right?
Yeah.
Milton did too.
Milton did too.
Milton
So,
did too.
And I think Mount Abraham was voting this week, but I don't think we have the outcome.
There was a school that passed the other day.
yeah, I mean, third time seems to be the charm. I'm not so sure. There's a lot of sentiment, especially in Swanton, that it's going to be known no matter what, and that'll be difficult problems.
We went 4 rounds in 2014.
Oh, yeah.
So all I could ask is, especially if you're there and you're, especially if you're online, so speak up.
Get educated.
Definitely.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, next we need to amend our zoning fee and have a motion to include a start date on this.
Yes, so you amended the zoning fees last time, but we forgot to include the start date. So we're going to start date is July 1st of this year.
Carolyn had some questions. She couldn't be zoning administrator. She wanted to know if you would consider waiting to adopt a start date to coincide when we adopt the new bylaws. When do we know when that's gonna be, ish? She had some questions specifically about the certificate of occupancy piece.
Probably not until
Maybe August?
Yeah, because we have to give public warning. It has to be advertised in the paper and numerous other legal things that have to happen first.
And it was like January 1st.
No, we prefer to have it sooner. Yes, especially the zoning bylaws because it affects.
And that's a fee schedule
Oh, yeah.
in place, which would give time for the zoning bylaws
Yeah.
Her recommendation was keep it on the same schedule as the bylaws, so when we update the bylaws, well, maybe it's time to update the fee schedule again. Just, I think it was more a timing thing, but she's still digging through the bylaws and she's got some comments and stuff. I know we have a hearing with the planning commission in July.
Yes.
July.
July, yes,
And
because
then-
their June is canceled.
And then select board, there'll have to be a select board hearing after that, maybe in July. So, I don't know, that was her comment, and I told her that I would mention it.
Okay. So, trying to understand the process, the planning commission or the DRB does the bylaws for these always?
The planning commission,
Okay.
with input from the DRB, the zoning administrator. We had lists, from the last half a dozen zoning administrators that we incorporated into that document, so.
Okay, any thoughts down the table? Is there any rush to get these implemented in July versus August? Any implications?
Not for the zoning fees, no.
Okay. I'm fine with, if that's what Carolyn wants, and that's what the planning commission wants, I don't wanna step on their toes. I don't see any harm in
Planning
waiting.
commission doesn't know, so,
Okay.
because this is new information.
Just today.
Oh, just today, okay.
Just today.
All right, I'm fine with letting it slip to August and talk to their, planning commission meeting in July. So that everybody's on the same page. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse. Yeah, no, that's,
Feel the same way?
okay. All right. All right, we'll table that till, August, or actually you said, yeah, we'll table it to August.
When does enforcement of these bylaws come into play?
First, we gotta get there.
Yeah.
Like what, like, what's an example?
Lack of people getting permits for anything we're doing around town.
So,
People living in campers,
That's an ongoing battle, but
that's a tough one.
people
a
running,
losing battle, to be
people
honest.
running businesses out of campers.
It's a very difficult situation right now.
The camper situation is tough.
It is. They're popping up everywhere.
But as far as people not getting permits, like when we're aware that it's happened, they get a letter. And for the fee structure, it's double. So she does follow up on those. Mostly those get caught by site visits that the assessor's office does. Like, oh, so-and-so didn't get they got a shed over there, I didn't see a permit. Or a neighbor will tattle on it.
Yeah, that's a
That
big
happens a lot too. So,
Anything else, Mike? All right, moving on, public hearing for neighborhood designated areas.
Well, this is just a official notification that we are changing the bylaws. That includes river corridors, which basically tells the public that you cannot build on certain slopes and certain areas where the river is going to change over the course of so many years. So it's to help protect us from having to do all of these FEMA home buyouts, where we have to go in and help someone buy out their property because it's in an unsafe or bad place. So there's nothing you have to do, it's just open for the public to comment.
Okay, when is that?
Right
Right
now.
now.
Right now.
Okay,
Right now.
all right.
Same goes for the public hearing for neighborhood designated areas. That's a program that is for planning or development in certain areas. By going with this designation, you get special treatment by Act 50, where you don't have to have as many restrictions, and the process is smoother, so it's to help developers in that designated area to go forward. We were asked by Cathedral Square if we were in that program, so we have since, the planning commission has met several times about it, and that application will be going forward, so this is another opportunity to comment.
Are there areas that have been designated?
Yes, there is a map that the planning commission has come up with. Right now, it happens to coincide with our village designated area. So it's a smaller area than we originally wanted, but that was at the state's request, with the provision that if we were to do some more, infrastructure, like sidewalks or what have you, then they would be willing to add more area to that space.
That's on the zoning map, I'm assuming?
No, because that's an application that's just going in, hasn't gotten to the zone map yet, because it all has to be approved by the city.
Okay. Alright, well, that's a good idea. If you don't want to build houses, we're going to follow the river.
No.
Creating like slope issues for the town and everybody. Alright, so we welcome comment on that at any future meeting to include this one. Shelley, town treasurer.
You have the check warrant in front of you, Vern.
Make motion to accept the check warrant.
Second.
All those who say aye.
Aye.
While you're signing that, just briefly on the charge station, I did email you all, but for the public who watched the last meeting, I did find that grant agreement. It does have a 5-year time frame that we have to keep everything as is. I sent the lady that emailed me that bill, the same document that I had sent you guys, and asked her for clarification on it being the exact same thing we already prepaid for, or is this something different? I have yet to hear back from them. So that is still unanswered in limbo. But at least we do know that the service she's trying to charge us for was prepaid. We prepaid for everything for the 5 years that we're on the hook for. So we should not be charged. Tax update, I still have 7 properties on my tax sale list that will probably be moving forward sooner than later. 3 of those are in the Anco mobile home market, frontage road. My total delinquent tax bill, total is $69,735.20. So it's getting down there, but I'm just hopeful that the people can get caught up before the next taxes come out if the state does increase our bill by 14 to 20%. So I would really hate to see people get in a snowball situation and
People are struggling.
not be able to catch up.
They need to do a payment plan. I cannot stress it enough. Do a payment plan. You never know what happens when you're in a payment plan. I know I've done it, 4 years now? It's helped me tremendous. And
And you're not alone, there are several people that have signed up and do
And
that.
I've talked to them, and they have come in and talked to Shelley. It's one way of doing it, because you never know what comes from year to year. And it doesn't hurt so much.
You're right,
It does not hurt so much.
you can pay all year round.
Right. And they ask, is there a certain amount? You put what you can afford that month, but still put it, bring it in, and,
Yes. Speaking of taxes, next Tuesday, I am taking a webinar. I was still meeting with Judy last month when they had the first one, so I missed it. I'm sure you've all heard, well, maybe you haven't, but, there is going to be a tax rate, payroll tax increase, because we have to pay for childcare services now through our paychecks. And you, the select board, will have, an option on whether that 0.44% extra tax will be paid for by the employer or by the employee. And I am not on the listserv anymore, but Wendy has heard from many other towns that their select board has voted for the employer to cover that extra. I will know more all about it by our next meeting. Like I said, I haven't taken the webinar yet to learn the ins and outs, but just something to think about maybe for next meeting. It takes effect July 1st, so I will be asking for some sort of motion June 20th.
All right, something to discuss.
our representatives told us last January, was it? We have more payroll tax to come for more programs that they are gonna be instituted.
On my list of things to talk about.
Family Leave Act.
Sorry. Yeah. It's not good news coming from up there. Charge station?
Yes.
Sorry, Pat.
Did you miss the conversation?
She said that first.
Really concentrating on those things.
Wow.
Third on the list here, but I guess we'll talk about it first.
I sent
Alright, sorry.
her, sent you, I haven't heard back.
Back with you.
So, still waiting. We'll have enough hopefully
Okay.
when it comes
All
to
right,
next.
I did read your email, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Squirrel.
Check it out. All right.
Anything else? I'm just buttoning up year-end stuff at this
Yeah.
point, preparing for auditors, so. Anything else any of you need from me?
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Wendy, town clerk.
Yes, sir. Okay, so we were last together at the arena on May 16th, so I need to, hopefully approve those minutes. It was, Vern, you were the
I
only
was
one, I
absent.
think you
Yep.
weren't there, so Mary will have to sign these, but. Motion, anybody?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All those who say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and pass this to Mary, please. Thank you. So Rennet covered a lot about the school budget revote. Tuesday, June 18th, we will be at the arena from 7 to 7. Probably more like 6 to 8, but polls are open 7 to 7. We have had quite a few people vote absentee already. I sent out 124 and I have 52 of them back. So, that's always an option if you're gonna be out of town, can't get out of work. There's still plenty of time to request an absentee, and I hope that people do. This office is closed on the 18th. The following day, the 19th, is technically a holiday. So, this office was closed 2 days in a row.
Lucky you.
No, because I'm working 14 hours over there. So I have posted, the closings, and there's a lot of information out there about the revote. These flyers are sent to one per household, read it, absorb it. It hurts my heart that kids' programming might get cut. I don't even have kids in that school anymore, but that's not good for kids. I'm sorry, it's not good for kids. Do what you want, just vote. Grievance hearings are coming up. With our new assessor Spencer, we have yet to meet him in person. He will be here next week, June 12th, to send out the mailing about the grievance hearings. Anybody that had a change in their assessment will get notification. And meetings are being set up for June 26th, between 10 and 4. That's a Wednesday, I think. So you can submit your grievances in writing. If you can't make an appointment, appointments are strongly encouraged, but he will take walk-ins, but if he's meeting with other people, you're probably gonna have to wait, so. You can set up an appointment with me or by emailing your letter to Spencer. Everything's on our Facebook page, our Instagram page, the website, all around town. So yeah, we'll get the grievance hearings, hopefully button up the grand list, hopefully have a budget year, be able to print some tax bills on time this year, but we'll see what happens.
Speaking of which, in 2014, like Wendy said, 2 tax bills were sent. They had the original in August for the
Remember that.
municipal side, and then another one in December for the school side.
It was a
And I
disaster.
refuse to do that. It messes up escrows, it messes up people, they think they got their tax bill, they're not expecting a second one.
Because nobody read anything we sent with the first one that said, hey, this is a partial, because we haven't passed a budget.
We,
It was bad.
I remember it was a mess.
It was bad.
yeah, so we will be waiting. If this doesn't pass, or we don't have a tax rate, we will wait until we have everything before we mail the bills. And I don't know if we will need a special motion or town meeting to change the tax due date.
We have to check into that.
I might have to if it gets to that. I hope we don't. I really hope we don't, but if we do,
I know.
because I've already ordered tax bills, so all of that information is.
That was very labor intensive. We did 2 mailings, 2 collections. Like she said, it messed up escrows. People were confused.
The system, I can't go in and just print a 2014 tax bill because it doesn't know what I'm asking for.
That was probably
There's 2 in there.
the worst day I've ever had in this building, was the day people got that second bill.
Long phone calls.
And went nuts, and went nuts.
It was crazy.
It was insane. And I worked here and I was confused about it. So I can understand why people were confused and angry. I was like, well, didn't you think your first bill was a little low?
Yeah.
But what was happening was people's escrows were overfunded. People got refunds,
And they got.
spent the money,
Right.
and then got
Right
another
before
bill.
Christmas.
Yeah.
So it was a mess.
Yeah. I will not do that to the people of Highgate,
Yeah,
or to Wendy or I.
that's right. So that was 4 rounds. I think we did not pass a budget that year until August.
Wow.
So we'll see what happens. But we're gonna be at the polls again in August with the primary and then the general in November, so a lot of long days at the polls between school budgets and regular politics.
Luckily, the general only happens once every 4 years.
Every 2, it's just
Well,
every
okay.
4 years, it's state
So.
and federal.
Yeah.
But so yeah, because in November, everybody's gonna get ballots and that makes people crazy too. I didn't ask for this, I don't want this, well.
I didn't want to mail it to you either.
Here we are. Here we are. So
So-
anyway, so grievances are coming up, vote on the 18th, and that's it.
So Wendy,
Yes, sir.
I get a lot, what does it, out there, people are asking, what does it cost to have an election? To have a
Yeah.
revote, what's the total
So-
dollar each time?
That got asked at town meeting. David Rouse asked it. And my answer was, I get paid the same no matter how many hours I work. The big expense with that is postage and the cost of ballots. The school budget is choosing not to hand count, so they're using the tabulator, so there's an expense with the programming.
Yeah. How much
So-
is the tabulator?
So are you talking a school budget revote, or if we were to revote something at the town level? Because at the town level, it wouldn't be bad at all.
So I'm talking school revote, now does the town pay for it, or does that come out of the school?
So we send the school district a bill. We're kind of waiting until we're done voting. So to reimburse for mine and Shelley's time, all the postage we spent, that's pretty much it that we have for expenses. Election workers, like we pay our JPs to help us.
Was it $10,000? I mean,
No,
It's
we
not-
don't, well,
I mean, if you add it all up, the postage and the
So for
labor.
this vote so far, we've had 100 and what did I say, 24 absentees go out the door. Those are dollars
For
for
Highgate.
Highgate. That's just for Highgate. So it's
So, yeah.
$124
So
in
it's
postage.
maybe $5,000 every time they vote. I mean, I have no idea, I'm just,
I don't know district-wide what it would cost.
I'm
We
just
do
curious
bill
what it's
the school
costing
district
Highgate taxpayers
After.
every time there's a vote.
like the ballots, Wendy usually requests 50% of our checklist. Especially if it's going to be a big year where it's presidential and more people come out to vote.
Yep.
I can't speak for Franklin or Swanton, how much they request. In the past, they have had to borrow from us, so it's kind of lucky that we had some. But yeah, it's the ballots, the coding of the tabulator, and the postage that are the biggest expenses.
Yeah.
we started billing the school district for out of time once the merger happened, and we weren't just doing Highgate School anymore, or just the high school. And Franklin and Swanton do the same.
Yep.
So it's all coming,
So
so it's all
the
coming from
school
the school then?
We'll receive a bill from
Yep.
Highgate, Swanton, and Franklin
Yep.
for
Just coming out
all
of a
the
different trough.
revote election
Yeah.
expenses.
It's all coming out of us, it's just a
Same
different
way,
So
yeah.
crowd.
all that comes out
It's just a
of
different
us.
pot of money,
Right.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens. I mean, it wasn't close the last time. It still failed by what, 300?
Yeah.
And then the article to borrow failed by 1. I will say I've had people vote ask for absentee ballots this round that didn't vote in the last 2 rounds, so I think more people are paying attention. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but more people are voting, so
More participation is always better.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. So, that's it for me.
Good, thank you. Charging stations? All right, moving on. I'm still waiting. Sharon, town administrator.
Okay, I have a whole laundry list here.
Let's see that.
In front of you, you have, the geo-design contract for the brick grant. We had agreed to go with geo-design last time. That is the contract, so I will need the board's signature on it.
All right, we had a motion to sign the geodesign contract for the geotechnical services on Mesa Road slope instability.
I'll make
The
a motion.
amount on it.
Let me get to that. I think number I see in there is $70,425 total recommended base budget.
Yeah, then
Seven
plus there's the
Okay,
addition
okay.
that we agreed to. The extra 15.
$15,500 for the optional budget. For the I can say this, inclinometer monitoring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good job, Kurt.
big word.
So just to give you a heads up on that, they came on Wednesday. I had sent letters to the people along the Macy Road to keep them informed of what's going on. We went out, we walked the site, we marked where they want to put the monitoring wells and where they want to do their CP test. I'm asking what that is. But it's all to give us more information to make a better decision of what's happening on that slope, how far back it goes, how quickly it's going, and what your options are. So people are aware, people did attend the meeting on Wednesday. The Youngs were informed, who have wanted to be informed right along. Ricky Beachy came out and talked to us just to give an idea of what's happening and what we're planning on doing about it. So it's nice to see people involved in it. They were grateful for the heads up. So having said that, next week, starting on Tuesday, Macy Road will be down to 1 lane in sections because they'll start that drilling. And what will happen is, like the wells that you see over by the library that are in the asphalt, I have a metal cap on. We'll have a series of those in the pavement along that 3/4 of a mile that's iffy. I can tell you, after walking it, it is even worse than I thought before. There had been some new slides in the last month. So it's good that we're doing this and trying to figure out the best option. The state is looking for us to go forward with the soil nailing in that particular section in front of Mrs. Young's house. And as part of that, we had some easement documents drawn up. I can tell you that the Youngs are not comfortable signing any easements at this point. because there is a special situation with their foundation where it's partially homemade, and they are fearful that the disturbance of those soil nails will collapse their foundation. So until we get some more information, that easement process is on hold. Ron Macy, I spoke with him, he is fine with the easement they're asking for right there. And then the neighbors to Mrs. Young, I have not been in touch with yet. So everything on that is in motion at Snail's Place. But next week they'll start the beginning of the testing, so we'll see what happens and we'll see what that brings up.
How long will that testing take?
Well, the initial drilling and stuff will take about 2 weeks.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. But then there'll be a monitoring process over time, so that they can watch and see what happens. And that's basically from Williams Drive up to the Sheldon line. So. There was some concerns by one of the neighbors that the FEMA home buyout where Ira was being contaminated, but that is not the truth. Ron Macy owns on both sides of that property. He was tending to his own property, which is no business of the town. So everything was fine there.
Okay. Can't remember, did we get a motion to send this?
I made the motion.
Okay. All those who say aye?
You didn't get a second.
Can I get a second?
I'll go second.
Okay, thank you. So the grand total for this, with the optional inclinometer was, $85,925.
Carry motion.
Everybody say aye.
I,
Sorry. You can't talk and write at the same time.
Or here.
Sorry, we're
That's all right. I deserve it.
Only you say something.
Okay, and speaking of different testing, the archaeological phase 1 that was done on the village core property came out great. There were no Indian artifacts or pre-contact artifacts there. So that project is on the go. Cathedral Square is having some geotechnical data done, so they will have equipment over there. You can see the grade stakes are up over there in different spots. Geodesign, the company that's doing the Macy Road, had been hired by Cathedral Square to go over there and do some testing, so you'll see that over there, but that's, everybody knows about that. So that's on the 10th through the 12th. Brownsfield, they came and did some hand digging in May 22nd and 23rd, and they were looking for additional lead levels so that we can come up with a corrective action plan. So that, we're waiting to see what the outcome was of that. We're having a meeting, I think, the 3rd week in June, so we'll know more then. We have RFPs, or request for proposals, out for the pole barn and moving that. And for an architect for the recreation department to have a new entrance and some lobby changes. So I know that at the rec meeting on Monday, we had one architect come and do a site visit and take some pictures and listen to what the rec commission was looking for, and another one will come at their next meeting. So we have had some interest in that. As you all know by now, the John Deere tractor for the Public Works Department was smashed and attempted theft. They cut into the ignition wire, so unfortunately that will probably mean a wiring harness. It's the entire right side door plus the corner right side window toward the back of the cab. We have made a claim. I talked to the claim person this afternoon and she gave us the okay to get an estimate. And if it's over $5,000, we'll have to have a claim adjuster come and take a look at it before we repair. We had also put in for the library to have a possible claim for their asbestos and the cleanup. That's a no-go. Yeah. I didn't expect it to be, but on the off chance we could get that covered, that would have been nice, but unfortunately they will not. So back to the tractor, the Public Works Department did put up a couple of solar floodlights in the back to light up the fuel tank and off the barbecue grill to shine onto the parking lot. I would like to ask if we could do the same thing for the fire department side, because if people are leaving their vehicles, and especially when you have that adrenaline going in, I don't want anybody fooling with people's vehicles. So if we could get floodlights out there. Also looking at getting additional cameras for Public Works and the fire department, and for the rec department, I would like some more cameras as well. Summit is gonna come tomorrow at 11, so we'll go over both places and see what they have to offer. And maybe our system isn't the best option. We'll look, see what they have to say. Just as an FYI, on July 1st, if you pass a bicyclist, a horseback rider, or a walker, you need to leave 4 foot of space between your vehicle and the pedestrian. So that's a new law that's been signed in Vermont.
That's a new law?
That's a new law.
That was just common sense.
It is, but before you didn't have to
That's a
have,
law.
didn't have to have any
It's not a big
particular.
law, it's no common sense.
Yeah, so now it's 4 foot. You have in front of you a letter that I'm asking for your signature for a sidewalk grant. What we would like to do with the village core is, if we're going to have the side of the road all torn up for a wastewater pipe, why not at the same time put in some sidewalk? So we are attempting to apply for the V-Trans bike ped grant.
All right, can I get a motion to apply for this grant, of which looks like 20% local cash match, which we have.
Yeah.
And will be met with ARPA, so no cost to the taxpayer.
I'll make that motion.
One
And
second.
a second, all right, all those do aye?
Aye.
Oh,
Yep.
whoa,
Whoa.
Explain, this is part of the site, explain, I guess I'd like to know where the sidewalk would go, in front of where and where. I guess that's what I'd like to,
Well, it's going to depend, first of all, how much money we get. Where the road is gonna be torn up is on St. Armand Road from the rail trail up to the Macy property. We're looking at, it would be nice for the Macy property, that front along 78 to have a sidewalk, since we cross the road, but we don't have anything that it hooks to. And then the other section that we're considering is extending Lampkin Street, fixing that hole at the church where the water pools, and then bringing that sidewalk up to the wastewater disposal field. So basically, the house right before the road that goes into Wright's Pit.
Is that Laramie? Or is that before
It's
Laramie?
right before Laramie, yeah. So the thought is, you wouldn't have your excavation costs for sidewalks. You would have very limited, stone for it because you're already gonna have the stone in the system for your wastewater pipe. So basically, your sidewalk would lay on top of your pipe. Pipe is 5 foot down, but you get the idea.
So is the pipe going up more at all?
Not in this first section unless we can come up with some additional funds. So that's what we're trying to do now, is come up with additional funds. And I can tell you that we did get a notification that we are going to get additional ARPA funds for the wastewater system. They don't guarantee exactly how much, but they are hoping that it's in the millions of dollars, which would be a giant help for us because our wastewater quote was originally 4 million and it's up to 7 now. So any additional millions they would like to give to us would be really, really nice.
So the match you said was ARPA?
20% local cash match, and according to the letter, we have funding available local ARPA to cover that.
Is that our local ARPA?
Yes.
So would they have to, I don't recall them making a motion on.
No, if, this is just for a pre-application.
Consideration
basically.
of the grant.
Yes,
Oh,
so
like
they,
you have to show that you have the match before you can apply, so it doesn't necessarily mean they have to use that.
exactly. The thought is if we use that extra ARPA money on the wastewater, then that could be a double match for both the sidewalk grant and for,
Okay. I don't recall, I just didn't recall it being
yes,
made
it
a
has
motion
not,
when they were
yes, no, it has not been
allocating their
made.
ARPA funds.
So how much is the grant that we're trying to get?
From what I can see right now, looking at about 385,000. We may not get any of that, we maybe get a small portion of it. We'll have to wait and see how much, if any, we get awarded.
So, my thing, I'm okay with Cathedral Square and we, just sidewalk, but I think if we do something, I think we need a crossing to go to David's and a light. So, you're gonna get a lot of people from there that are gonna, and I would be more interested in doing that than I would be going up Lampkin Street more. That's my feeling. You know, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but.
Yeah, no, you definitely need some kind of crossing at David's because that's already a dangerous intersection.
That's a state road, right?
Not
No.
across St. Armand to David's.
The Macy property
Taken.
across to David's store
Yes,
Yeah.
on St. Armand Road.
yes.
Good.
It's terrible.
Okay, question answered?
Do they have to make a motion to allocate their ARPA funds to this project? I feel like you did, if you're signing it.
But we don't know, this is, from my understanding, it's a consideration of the grant. We're not actually getting the money or asking for the money. It's more like a permission for the grant.
But we can't spend it twice. I guess that's where I'm going.
I see what you're saying. Problem is, we don't know
Correct.
Right,
what
you don't know
the
how
dollar
much.
amount is. Right?
Right.
Right now, it's basically, you said $77,000 is 20%, so.
Right. So if you
Yeah,
get 100,000, then you only, you know, it's gonna change depending on what you end up with.
I would, upon approval or grant, up to X amount of dollars, whatever's required, make a motion that way. So at least it's documented that you are willing to spend that, you're allocating ARPA money up to that if you're awarded that grant.
Yep. Anybody else on this? All right, so, can I get a motion once again for the Vermont AC Transportation grant for sidewalks that we want to do, put over the pipes for the sewer project, a 20% local match up to, right now, 20% local match using ARPA funds.
Make that motion.
Second.
All those who say?
Basically, it's an amended motion.
All right, thank you.
Okay, and speaking of wastewater, letters have gone out to all of the current possible end users for the wastewater system. As we go into final design, we need to know how many connections there'll be on each street. So next week at the meeting for Village Core, we'll hopefully have those people that have an interest show up and learn a little bit more about what's gonna happen and express a true interest in whether or not they want to hook up. Vermont DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation, did a site inspection for compliance on our brush depot. Everything came out good, so we are yippee for there. The rec department would like your approval to spend their $17,000 that they have in their capital improvement plan towards their new stage for summer sounds. The actual quote is $17,380.85.
Are they gonna build one or?
No, this is an aluminum stage that's weatherproof, and portable and able to be set up by one person.
Good. Any questions on it?
No.
All right, can we get a motion for the
I'll
rec
make-
department? Rec department spend their $17,785.25 on their new stage.
Well, 17,000 will come out of the CIP and then 85 will come out of their general budget.
Good. Can I get a motion for that amount?
How big is your stage?
I haven't
It
seen any
is-
proposals yet.
I emailed it to you.
Okay, I just.
12 by 20. It's an adjustable all-terrain stage system with adjustable height legs, weatherproof.
So is it something that'll stay up year round, or will we take it down, or?
No, we can take it down and we can be able to use it inside as well as outside.
Does it have like a weight limit, so this is for like bands?
Yes, it's 157 pounds per square inch.
Ooh.
So it's
Bubble
quite
proof.
heavy duty.
Bubble proof.
We have a motion, we go on second.
I'll second it.
All those who say aye?
Aye.
Everybody else?
Will that be here for this season?
Yes. Yes. About a 2-week ship period, so we should see it before the first conflict. The last thing I have in the regular session is tomorrow night, the Ties and Tiaras father-daughter dance.
No,
Or,
Saturday.
Saturday night, sorry. They have 50 father-daughter couples.
Really?
Plus 6 extra daughters.
Nice.
So it should be a very nice event.
Awesome.
So that's it for me for right now. We have some executive.
Yep, I do.
Okay.
Oh, Sorry, I have one more thing, yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ty.
Oh, that's good.
So the last thing I need you to sign is, up there is, it says loan agreement on the first page.
Yeah.
It's actually a subsidized loan for $125,000 that is been granted to us from the Clean Water State Revolving Fund for our wastewater project. So there are numerous places to sign, and Shelley will have to sign too, so don't sign where it says treasurer.
You
But
can have my job if you want.
Not doing it real good tonight.
You wanted to sign Shelley.
Yeah. What's this consolidated waste? CWSR, the acronym?
that's Clean Water State Revolving Fund.
Okay. Yeah, I get a motion to sign the Clean Water State Revolving Fund.
I'll make motion.
Subside.
Second it.
All those who say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's all I got on this list, is that we got. Did it to you guys?
Yes, that's all I have, except for executive.
All right, anybody else got anything for the open session?
I guess probably a question for Sharon, but, park and ride, is that their rules, or can the select board make it so that there's no long-term parking there? There's been a vehicle there that's been multiple weeks without moving. I don't know if it's a state, you're allowed to be, or, but I hate to see it become a dumping spot.
Yeah, here.
Is that the one with the flat tire? Is there a flat tire on that one?
I don't know.
Is it a truck?
That one appeared this morning.
It's a black SUV on the backside.
I can find out that.
Let's find out, yeah.
I looked in the back, make sure there wasn't a body or something.
Appreciate
It has
that.
been there 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Somebody did.
It's there at night, it's there in the morning, so it's not moving.
Yeah, we need to get that out of there.
You can call in and get a license plate check and get RO information.
I see it there.
And if we can, maybe we'll put some signs up, or no long-term parking.
I feel like Heidi's had some cars towed from there before.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't
Yes.
see why we couldn't have
Yeah.
it towed.
Anybody else? All right, I'd like to make a motion to come out of regular session and go to executive with, who do we need?
Pardon?
Who do we need for executive today?
Just,
Did you, Sharon
oh, and the lawyer,
and Laura?
but
will be able
he'll
to-
be, he'll be here in a few minutes.
Is he coming or Zoom?
No, he'll be Zoom.
Okay.
Night, folks.
Thanks, everybody. Can I get a motion to come out?
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Who's that?